Alrighty, I think it is officially 11:17. We gave everyone 2 minutes to load in. So welcome back, everyone. We took a gap week last week to be heads down in the upcoming launch of the NFT Playground, and that is officially the topic of this week's AMA. So, as many of you guys participating in our weekly quests know, this week we've been amplifying the first 5 winners of our NFT creator competition. Basically a handful of artists across the community whose work will have the honor of being some of the first ever assets test minted on the Lamina One blockchain. Speaking for myself personally, we have loved being able to see and get to know the community through their creations a little bit better, and we'll be announcing our next batch of winners on Monday. So the first 5 NFTs you've seen this week are just the start. We've got 5 more next week launching. As for the upcoming drop of the NFT Playground, I know I've been teasing it all week. We've been working super hard. So to kick things off for this week's AMA, I'm going to hand it off over to the L1 engineering team, who has been, killing bugs, sorting through smart contracts, and putting on the final touches for L1 testers to get involved. So without further ado, L1 engineering, let us know what's your update and where are we at? Will, Chris?
I'm here. Will, do you want me to take?
Oh, sorry. I thought it was. Yeah, sorry, I was on mute. Okay. So we have a couple updates, including obviously the NFT Playground. The first one is that the first cohort of validators should have received an invite to join the network. I think we chose about 18 for the first cohort just to keep things manageable, test out the documentation. And once we get everyone onboarded successfully, we'll be looking at onboarding that next cohort. So if you weren't in the first cohort, don't worry. We should be following it shortly with the next one. And we are, just to remind everyone, we are mostly going in order of application date, but we're also keeping a few other parameters in mind, like where you're located, how you're running your node. We're trying to pick some of the more experienced validators for the first cohorts, just so that they can help, flesh out the documentation for the following cohorts. And then, we did get a couple people who really spammed the application system. So I don't know that I'm going to say like we're penalizing you per se, but if you spammed us a bunch, you're not going to be probably in the first 2 cohorts. But we'll try to get you at least one spot, obviously, in one of the closely following cohorts. So that was one update. NFT Playground obviously is coming up soon. I think we're going to talk about that a little bit later. So I won't say too much about that now. And I think Chris Mahoney is in a lot of ways been kind of like the visionary behind that. So I'll let him speak to it. But a lot of us have been working really hard on new docs and papers, and I think we're going to have something to share on that pretty soon. We've brought in 2 very talented engineers, Bernie and Baltazar, who I don't think they're in this call today, but these are 2 really great engineers that I worked with at the XX networks. I mean, they've been working on L1 technology for the past 5 or 6 years. They're huge. They're really gonna help boost our productivity in a big way. So I think that's gonna help push a lot of things forward that we're waiting on, which I'm sure a lot of people are wondering. Some of that is the wallet and Explorer fixes and updates that we've been promising for a while. We have been spread a little bit thin with the current team size and just the sheer number of things we're working on. So now that we've kind of basically doubled the team size, we should be seeing a lot more traction on some of this stuff. But yeah, it's the high-level engineering update. I don't know if Mahoney, if you have anything else you want to mention. Otherwise, I think we could jump in the NFT Playground.
Yeah, we can jump right into that. I just also want to point out that Baltasar and Bernie coming on have been amazing, and that's really going to help accelerate exactly as Will's saying. Not only the NFT Playground, but a lot of features that we're looking to provide to the community.
Awesome. So yeah, more engineering help, more support. Get ready for some more core team members on the Discord. But yeah, let's kind of pivot over. Mahoney, you're on the mic. So what's going on with the NFT playground? Do you have an update for us on what to expect and where you guys are at?
Absolutely. So the real and I appreciate it, Will. Visionary is a big term, but the important thing for me,
No pressure.
No. It's a good thing, because the most valuable thing that we could possibly do is make that NFT playground really engaging and serve a purpose for multiple audiences that we have. Whether you're just getting into Web3, whether you are very into NFTs, whether you're on the network already. So just to give a broad overview of what to expect from that playground, we have, as Casey had mentioned, we have the 5 initial winners of the NFT submission program. Those will be the surface, kind of our baseline that we're starting to work with to create the contracts that sit underneath this playground. And the playground itself, what you can expect is the ability to generate one of 5 of these NFTs, just to summarize. The ability to list them on the marketplace as an NFT owner, the ability to interact with, this playground in a way that lets us both test the network technically, but also create some engaging interactions versus just what I wouldn't want is just the ability to do these things with the question of why, because some of our users are coming from classic game dev, some are coming very much from Web3 and are very familiar with these processes. So what I hope it achieves is that it satisfies everybody's interest in what we're doing with NFTs on the Lambda 1 network. It helps us get valid feedback from the community and also to test our assumptions. And I think if that's a good enough overview, I think we could jump into some questions.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, I definitely want to address the elephant in the room here, which is the fact that we said that we were going to launch the NFT playground and clearly have had a couple of delays. Obviously not a super rare thing when we're in Testnet and working through some engineering stuff. So yeah, I definitely had a couple of questions before we kind of dive into all of the questions that we've got from the community this week. Just in terms of like, just some level setting questions on what to expect when it does launch. So obviously, we said we were going to launch this week. It's now Friday. We have not quite launched it. So I guess my first question that I want to field, and that we've received tons of questions from the community about, is what is the status of the launch at the moment and how close are we?
So the answer is very close, thanks to the growth of the engineering team, specifically around making sure that we're getting ahead of any potential issues. Everyone will try to do several number of things within the playground. But our goal with the release and what we have in internal testing at the moment is the ability to generate a mint of 1 of 5 of the winners of the first week's contest. The ability to list those on a marketplace first. And when I say marketplace, it's a marketplace playground. The ability to set those up for sale at a static price, which others can pull down. And the goal is really, in terms of gamification of, this experiment and what we're doing, is that your goal is to be able to collect all 5. And I don't want to say gotta catch them all, not full Pokemon, but to give you a reason to actually collect these, to understand how when you mint NFTs in the future on the Lamina One network, that you have an idea of what to expect. That's very much been a portion of a delay, but B, to make sure that it's something they can actually take something away from in terms of an NFT creator or a collector, or anyone on the network who wants to be able to interact with these things. It has very much been a point of what's coming soon.
Awesome. And so what are the kind of final steps that you guys need to work through before our testers can get their hands and start trading with these 5 NFTs?
So right now, to make sure that we have an analog of what you would expect on any other network, what you would expect as a creator, is to post and pin these in IPFS to make sure that they're ready to go for the network. And then also to be able to properly showcase the artists themselves that have been responsible for these things, and also a preview of what to expect for future weeks when additional features come out. Additional winners are mentioned and named. That's pretty much where I think we're at the current date.
Awesome. And when we do launch, what is it that we want community members to be putting pressure on or providing feedback on as they dive into the new NFT playground and start testing it?
That's a great question. And I would just say
I could.
Oh, go ahead, Will.
No, I think I think Chris Mahoney had already mentioned this, but there's a few reasons we built this. I mean, one is so that the community has a way to. We could have just launched a bunch of straight NFT contracts, and it would really only be usable and kind of digestible by people who are already familiar with the space. So one reason we jumped through hoops to make something that had a UI and that people could click and play around with was number one, so that you guys could be engaged with it, but also number two, so that we can test the capabilities of the chain with real organic EVM traffic on that primary C chain. So what we want you guys to do is interact with these NFTs as much as possible, whether that's minting a bunch of them, whether it's listing a bunch of them, whether it's selling a bunch of them, buying a bunch of them. We want to get a lot of that traffic so that we can see, number one, how long is it taking you as a user to actually execute these functions? Is it within how is the user experience? We'd like feedback on the performance. Are these transactions taking too long? Are they quite fast? And basically, we're looking for you to drive traffic that actually tests the EVM nature of the network, because a lot of these other networks, when they really try benchmarking, they're really just pushing simple cryptocurrency transfers. They're not actually pushing traffic through smart contracts, which are generally much more computationally heavy. So that's the type of traffic we want to get a feel for at this stage in the project. So that's what we're looking for. We're looking for you to drive that traffic. We're looking for you to have fun while you're doing it. And then we're looking for your feedback on, how that experience went. And then, eventually, we'll look at this playground and see if it's something we want to expand into maybe a more fully featured marketplace that anyone can post to, or if it's something we'll just keep as, a fun playground that helps us, generate organic transaction traffic.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. So those were my initial questions. Obviously wanted to just kind of talk about what are we launching, acknowledge the fact that we're a little bit later, but also the kind of reasons behind it, the fact that we really want to build out, obviously this playground that is more than just kind of basic functionality, something that's interesting and will be really useful for our community members to really kind of get on board and start exploring. So now I'm going to jump into our community question round. So these are some questions that I trolled through the Discord all week, were pre-submitted from the community. And then we're going to dive into some open questions at the end here. So if anyone's got any questions to share based on what they just heard, feel free to pop them into the chat as we run through this initial round of questions. So first off, Javi is asking the hot button question where he asks, when and where will it be possible to buy the NFT of the winners of the competition? So basically, do we have like an estimated timeline, and also like where will people go to access this NFT playground to begin with?
Yeah, so I think there's two answers to that. One is, what's going to happen in this next week. And then the second answer is like, what happens after testnet? Is there a way that we could showcase these NFTs or mint them in a maybe more limited way later on in the network? So like in betanet or even mainnet, which might be fun for the creators and the community. And we're still, I think, kind of thinking about where these winners where else we could showcase these NFTs post playground. So after testnet, so into betanet and mainnet. But for now, it's going to be within that NFT playground, which is going to be, I believe, another button on the testnet hub. So that's where you'll go. You'll click on a button, and I think you'll be brought into you'll be taken to the NFT playground. And from there, you'll be able to, as Mahoney said, mint one of the 5 and then try to collect the other 4.
Surav Joy 7 asks, why is there no NFT store on the Lamina 1 web page currently?
Well, I mean, there's two answers. One, we're going to be providing a NFT-like store, the playground. It's not a fully featured store. So that's one of the reasons why we built this. Number two, currently it's not in our roadmap to really build our own NFT marketplace, like a fully featured NFT marketplace product. There are a lot of NFT marketplaces out there, and it would be our preference to partner with existing ones and put the Lamina 1 chain, or integrate the Lamina 1 chain with their already sizable communities and offerings. So the overall goal is not to build our own NFT marketplace at the moment. That might be a goal down the line, but in the short term, we're looking more towards partnerships.
Awesome. Harvest asks, Mint NFT already started, and with a couple of follow-ups, I think more of the question is, will artists be able to mint their own NFTs on testnet in the future?
Short answer, yes. Mint NFT, anyone can mint an NFT technically right now. There aren't a lot of creator tools around being able to do that at the moment. So generally speaking, you're going to have to use some of the external third-party tools to mint the NFT and then post them directly to our chain, deploy them directly to our chain once you've generated them. We haven't written any documentation on how to do that yet. That's something we'll probably do in short order. But for now, we really wanted to showcase give the winners of the contest a little bit of time in the limelight to showcase their artwork. And then I think later on, we'll start fleshing out that tool set that allows other people to easily mint and deploy their own NFTs. And that'll include some ways to visualize those NFTs as well, whether that's in the NFT playground, but also hopefully within the wallet and Explorer as well.
Yeah, and just to bolt on to Will's answers is as well, what we're doing is consuming the Lamina One network internally as users, so that we can make sure A, that it's engaging, B, that it's compelling, C, that it's functional, and that's kind of the work that's going on right now.
Great. Nate Fox asks, and I'll take this one, guys. When will the tasks in Crew 3 be updated? So I am, in charge of the quests and the Crew 3 and the community engagement around all of the hard work that engineering has done. And basically, the tasks in Crew 3 will be updated, and the playground will be launched as soon as engineering is happy with it, and they've given me the green light to questify and encourage transactions. So I'm also waiting with bated breath with you guys. And I think in general, it's just, we got to work through the final touches. And so I will keep you all posted as soon as I personally know when we're going to be able to roll out these new quests. And we really appreciate your patience with us so far. Volodiax asked, do you see any competitors among NFT marketplaces? And Javi kind of also asked, will Lamina One ever make its own marketplace? And I know you kind of just addressed this, saying, we're not currently in the market of building our own marketplace. We're looking for potential partnerships, but is there anything else you kind of want to add or kind of elaborate on based on that? NFT marketplaces aren't our competition, right?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think generally speaking, we want to really ensure that whoever's building on Lamina One has access to as many NFT marketplaces as possible. So to us, it doesn't really make sense. We've never really been of the opinion that we need to create a walled garden. We're taking quite the opposite approach. We will have probably curated tools and marketplaces that we sort of have vetted and that we see as, fairly reputable and reliable, but we don't really want to, block out any competitors or marketplaces. So that doesn't mean we aren't obviously looking at creating our own marketplace. We are currently going through a design process where we're going through all the existing marketplaces, seeing the user flows, seeing what has worked for them, both in terms of that user flow and onboarding process, but also in terms of the business model and the social management and, digital rights payments and a bunch of other kind of not primary functions in the network or in the platform, but secondary but very important functions in the platform. And the goal is to, put together maybe an ideal flow for what we think a good marketplace might look like, and eventually maybe even develop it or partner with someone to develop it ourselves. But it is something obviously we're thinking about, and we're trying to understand these marketplaces, where their friction points are, where the stumbling points are, so that, we can choose the right ones to partner with, number one, but also maybe one day help improve them or make our own.
Awesome. I've got a couple of questions about the NFT creator competition now that I'm going to take. So Dazov expressed some disappointment earlier this week at not being selected as a winner, and sort of asked, what was their selection process for winners of the competition? So Dazov, if you're listening, you were actually in our top 30 finalists. So you hit all of the initial markers that we initially screened for out of the 500 plus submissions we got, which was your NFT was unminted, it was traceable back to its owner, it was original work and had artistic merit, right? So we did a lot of reverse image searching. I think we did a lot of kind of validation, you know, how can we prove that this is your artwork, wanting to make sure that every single NFT that we're minting on the testnet is in fact created by its creator and not, you know, stolen, pilfered, you know, and all of that. So you hit that, but once we got close to selecting our final 10, there was definitely another set of criteria that we took into account. And this was kind of around how you filled out the form. What was the story you told around the NFT? How did you make it? Did you use sort of like innovative creator techniques? You know, did you talk about how your work demonstrated the diversity and potential of NFT creators in the open metaverse? We wrote kind of a blog out at the early onset of the week, sort of laying out for people what we are kind of looking for. And I think in general, these collections are really trying to show kind of like a diversity of styles, applications, use cases for NFTs in the future open metaverse. And as well, we are looking at artist following. We are looking at, you know, creators that, you know, could really benefit from our help and support. We are kind of choosing a mix of both small-time artists as well as artists with sort of a larger following. And we wanted to make sure that we had within this kind of first batch of 10 creators, a really interesting mix of people. So in general, I mean, I think there were a lot of really cool NFTs that got submitted, but in a room full of folks, you know, working with Neil Stevenson and a lot of people who are really interested in not just kind of like the visual appeal of the NFT, but the story and the potential behind it, a lot of the storytellers did in fact win out in the competition. So again, Dazov, like your NFT was awesome. I really liked, it was this sort of like subterranean creature. And it was great, but I think, you know, some people's responses were just a little bare, right? And we ended up choosing people who were kind of painted more of a story around it ultimately. And that was not just my decision. We had a whole panel of people across the Lamina One organization who kind of did this collective voting exercise to do our first, to select our winners. Second question is from JonasCasperJensen.com, who asked, I missed signing up to make art for the testnet competition. Is it still possible to participate? So unfortunately, we had to close the competition. Obviously, we had to put a deadline on so that we could start test minting and experimenting internally, which we're still obviously doing now. But I will say we're going to be doing a lot more community activations like this as we move closer to launch. I think, you know, this kind of test mint competition is just the beginning. And as we move towards beta net, mainnet, like we really want to be actively kind of showcasing our creators, you know, minting for real. And so definitely stay tuned. I think this creator competition was a lot of fun for us and was super successful. So we're already thinking about how we're going to do kind of different permutations of it moving forward. All right, next up, Jackal Girl asks, has the team come up with any vision as to how to build the value of L1 organically? I can see how building things of value and how things like NFT marketplaces may pay into it, but how to get currency in the hands of people without the kind of rampant speculation that comes when there's an exchange? Big questions as always from Jackal Girl.
This is a really deep question, and Will, do you want to lead it up? Do you want to tee me up?
I think there's, if you have something, Rod, you want to say about it, you're welcome to. I think like we are working on the token economics of the platform at the moment and how the value of the coin is going to be driven and what are some organic ways of doing it as opposed to like the speculative nature that a lot of people are familiar with from the space, and that's kind of given it a notorious nature. That's something we're obviously trying to avoid. I don't think we're at the point right now where we're ready to talk about like what that's going to look like in beta net or mainnet, but it is something we're actively working on, and hopefully we'll have some better answers for you soon.
Inutik asks, do you plan to implement some cross-chain bridges, for example, for transferring NFTs from other chains?
Definitely. Yeah, this was like part of our core requirement when we decided to build our own platform rather than try to adopt one of the other ones out there or build an L2. We absolutely need to maintain interoperability with some of the other major chains that are out there. Number one, because it makes it a lot easier for some of these creators who have already launched on other chains to migrate stuff over, but also because we really do believe that we really don't believe in a walled garden approach. That's for us and for other chains. And so, we want to ensure that, if we build compelling use cases for other people's assets and tokens that exist on other chains, that they're easily able to bring them over to our chain, and then vice versa. Like some of these other chains are more DeFi focused, and there might be really cool marketplaces and stuff that some of our customers want to use that aren't currently on our chain. And so we'd want them to be able to take their assets back. And the whole point here is that you're in control of your assets and you can take them wherever you want. And so we're planning on having at least a number of dedicated bridges to some of the larger L1s out there. And we've already been talking to a couple partners who specialize in creating bridges more on the decentralized side of the bridge equation to make that happen quickly.
User Dumpers asks, I create token in NFT, but only token can show up on Lamina One wallet and Testnet, but NFT can't show, or as a sort of translation, for those who skipped ahead of us and have already started putting their NFTs on Testnet, why aren't they showing up in the L1 Explorer? And do we have any sort of like advice or support for people who are, jumping ahead of us and excited to get NFTs on with or without us?
I'll raise my hand. If you're right with this, Will. So an interesting situation with the actual web wallet for Lamina One is, again, we've forked the Avalanche network itself, and so along with that came the web wallet, which keeps the pattern of how Avalanche defines collectibles. So right now, if you try to add your NFT that you had added via the network, you're given the ability to paste in your smart contract address. You're able to, you'll see that it retrieves the actual token symbol and the name of your collectible, but then it won't appear in the collectibles section. And the reason for that is mostly because classic ERC 721 NFTs differ from how Avalanche treats collectibles in a number of ways. What we are talking about internally, and I do feel very strongly we have a hold on, is how we can adjust that collectible section. You're able to currently add your tokens as that question implied, no problem. But when it comes to actual NFTs, that will require some changes. I think those are well defined updates to the user interface. If Will, you want to add anything else? That's kind of how I see it. It's definitely on our radar, first and foremost.
Yeah, nothing big to add. It is on our radar. We do want to incorporate it into some of the existing tools. So yeah, I'd say hopefully in the next few weeks we'll have updates on this question.
I'd agree.
Awesome. I've got one more questions from, we've got Kat Lamina One CM, one of our newest moderators, asks, will the playground incorporate any kind of royalty stream?
Not in the first iteration, but it's a really good idea for some follow-up functionality.
Yes. And also, that's something that has been just in this process has been an active line of research how to do that properly. Just from my point of view as a boots on the ground engineer, the number one thing that I looked at coming from a consumer of our network is the fact that some groups have backed away from royalties. And what I would like is with the proper understanding of how we support creators, that we lean into it. But just as Will had said, that's obviously it's not on the short term roadmap right now.
Great. Well, that is all of our questions. So thank you all so much for joining us. I hope that this has provided a little bit of clarity on, what to expect for the upcoming NFT Playground. The acknowledgement that, yes, we're a little bit late, but it's going to be a super exciting launch when it does launch. And as always, I will keep you all posted as soon as we're happy with it. Obviously, we want to be releasing something that works and feels right and has a good user experience, all sort of laddering up to all of the values that we detailed out in our white paper. So we appreciate it. Hope this update was helpful for some community members, and that we've got some of the hot pressing questions answered from the community. We will be regrouping again next week, hopefully with a few more updates and more questions to go through. So we appreciate it. We'll be posting this AMA on our YouTube shortly, and we'll be sharing it out with the rest of the community there. So again, thank you so much, everyone, and we will talk soon.
Thank you very much.
Bye, guys.